Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nasvesya Bhadrasa Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 15. The Pandavas retire timely, text 35. Yata matsyadi rupani datte chayat shatanata bhubarakshapito yena yahotasya kalevaram yata matsyadi rupani datte chayat shatanata bhubarakshapito yena jayotasya kalevaram yata matsyadi rupani datte jayat shatanata bhubarakshapito yena jayotasya kalevaram yata matsyadi rupani datte jayat shatanata bhubarakshapito yena yahotasya kalevaram yata matsyadi rupani datte jayat shatanata bhubarakshapito yena jayotasya kalevaram. But for translation. Yata, as much as Matsya Adi, incarnation as a fish, etc. Upani, forms. Date, eternally accepts. Chayat, apparently relinquishes. Yatha, exactly like. Nataha, magician. Bhubara, burden of the world. Kshapita, relief.
Mais c'est contournable. Nessun Dorma, air célèbre de l'opéra Turandot de Puccini, interprété ici par le géant Luciano Pavarotti, que vous pouvez entendre ce soir, chanté par le ténor Penepati, accompagné par l'orchestre dirigé par Raphaël Paillaré. Je vous le rappelle, c'est le grand concert.
Also, Kalevaram body. Translation and purport. The Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnation and others. Purport. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is neither impersonal nor formless, but his body is non-different from him, and therefore is known as the embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. In the Brihad Vaishnava Tantra, it is clearly mentioned that anyone who considers the form of Lord Krishna to be made of material energy must be ostracized by all means. And if by chance the face of such an infidel is seen, one must clean himself by jumping in the river with his clothing. The Lord is described as Amrita, or deathless, because he has no material body. Under the circumstances, the Lord dying or quitting his body is like the jugglery of a magician. The magician shows by his tricks that he is cut to pieces, burned to ashes, or made unconscious by hypnotic influences. But all are false shows only. Practically, the magician himself is neither burned to ashes, nor cut to pieces, nor is he dead or unconscious at any stage of his magical demonstration. Similarly, the Lord has his eternal forms of unlimited variety, of which the fish incarnation, as was exhibited within this universe, is also one. Because there are innumerable universes somewhere or other, the fish incarnation must be manifesting its pastimes without cessation. In this verse, the particular word that they eternally accepted, another word ditva, accepted for the occasion, is used. The idea is that the Lord does not create a fish incarnation, he eternally has such a form, and the appearance and disappearance of such an incarnation serves particular purposes. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:24-25, the Lord says, the impersonalists think that I have no form, that I am formless, but at present I have accepted a form to serve a purpose, and am now manifested. But such speculators are factually without sharp intelligence. Though they may be good scholars in the Vedic literature, they are actually ignorant of my inconceivable energies and my eternal forms of personality. The reason is that I reserve the power of being hidden from the non-devotees by a mystic curtain. The less intelligent fools are therefore unaware of my eternal form, which is never to be vanquished and is unborn. In the Padma Purana, it is said that those who are envious and always angry at the Lord are unfit to know the actual and eternal form of the Lord. In the Bhagavatam also it is said that the Lord appeared like a thunderbolt to those who were restless. Shishupal, at the time of being killed by the Lord, could not see Mas Krishna, being dazzled by the glare of the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, although the Lord relinquished both his temporary manifestation as a thunderbolt before the wrestlers appointed by Kamsa and his glaring appearance before Shishupal like a magician, the Lord is eternally existent and is never vanquished in any circumstance. Such forms are temporarily shown to the Asuras only, and when such exhibitions are withdrawn, the Asuras think that the Lord is no more existent, just as the foolish audience thinks the magician to be burned to ashes or cut to pieces. Therefore, the conclusion is that because the Lord's body is transcendental, not material, he is never to be killed or changed. The verse again. Yata macha deupani tate chaya chata nataha bubara ksapitoyena chayotasa kalevam. The Supreme Lord relinquishes the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnations and others. Om Jnana Timandasya Chinansala Snakya Saksaran Militam Yena Tasmahi Shigove Namah. Chitchaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutaleshvam Rupakadhamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shigo Shiyuda Padakamalam Shigom Vaishnavamsa Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Pitam Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivashakam Vitamsa. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Kopesha Kopra Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gauranki Radhi Pundavanashri Prishabhani Siddhadevi Panamama Haripriye Pancha Kalpta Vishake Prasna Vivasha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachaya. Desatarani. Srila Prabhupada ki. So we have here the story of the Pandavas and their deep devotion to Krishna. That when the Pandavas got to know that Krishna disappeared, they understood. They understood that only also their mission has ended. That because the Pandavas, they are eternal associates of the Lord. They are helping the Lord in his compassionate mission. What is his compassionate mission? Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya sadhuskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavani yuge yuge. Krishna says, I deliver the pious and annihilated the miscreants just to establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. That's the mission to deliver the pies and to annihilate the miscreants. So, and Krishna is using his devotees, the Pandavas, to attract others. And factually, that inspires everyone to follow them. That we see when the Pandavas were in exile, they lost their kingdom, they lost everything to the gambling match, everything. That, but they did not reject Krishna. No, they remained faithful in Krishna. That because they understood the Lord's will is for everyone's benefit. That also with Srila Prabhupada, at a certain moment, Krishna took everything away. That so for the devotee, whatever happens in one's life is Krishna's mercy. He simply goes on increasing his service to the Lord and his devotion. That they had 14 years in exile, I think, yeah, and then they had the battle of Kurukshetra. And we see in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna did not want to fight, but he fought finally to please Krishna. Arjuna had to put aside his own feelings. When Arjuna's son Abhimanyu was killed by unfair means, but that this did not diminish his devotion. That the next day he fought more fervently, more stronger. That continue his service. So the Pandavas, they identified themselves exclusively as servants of Krishna. That, but now we see here, Krishna relinquishes his body. But Krishna's body is Satchidananda. It cannot disappear. It may disappear from our vision. And then he appears somewhere else. That so Krishna is inconceivable in any way. It's set here like a magician. He puts on a show as a magician. And it is here mentioned like the fish incarnation. Matsya avatar appeared as a little tiny fish in the palms of King Satyavrata when he was drinking. And the little fish spoke to him, "Please protect me." Because a Kshatriya has to protect, the king has to protect. That we know that he started to grow, that the fish, and it is said he was growing to 8 million miles. 8 million miles. That I think around around the world, it's about, to go around the world, 40,000 kilometers, 30,000 miles or something, or 25,000 miles maybe. That 25,000 miles, 8 million miles. That the earth would not be a fraction of an egg of such a fish. It's incredible that Krishna, he disappears to appear in another place. That the same way Krishna appeared in this world. Soon we have the auspicious celebration of Janmashtami. That because it's inconceivable. Krishna appeared on the day of Janmashtami. So then the question may arise, why did he appear as a baby? How is it that the Supreme Lord has a father and a mother? That so it's all Krishna's lila. Lila means activities performed for his pleasure. Krishna performs activities for the benefit of all people. That yes, Krishna appears for benefit. When we speak about different forms of the Lord, like Matsya Avatar, Krishna also revealed his Virat Rupa or Vishvarupa. That, but of course, Vishvarupa, that the universal form, Arjuna understood that I cannot have a loving relationship with that form, with this Vishvarupa. It's also difficult to have a loving relationship with Matsya Avatar. It's therefore Krishna appeared in his human-like form, beautiful form. That the Krishna appeared and he demonstrates his power. We can understand he's all powerful. By that we are the understanding we are depending on him. That so yes, that because factually the highest principle of religion is to love God with all our hearts. That's the highest principle. That so we will see that Devaki and Vasudev will treat the Supreme Lord as their son with great affection. So that love is the highest principle. So that is the constitutional position of the living entity. And that is what the Pandavas came to teach us. That because we have the scriptures, that's good. But we need examples of pure devotees to see how it is practiced, how it is brought in practice. And therefore, Krishna engaged the Pandavas. They are going with him from one place to another. Of course, if one understands who Krishna is, then one can understand that Krishna is everything. He's in every atom. He cannot disappear from every atom. It's everything. At the same time, he's a transcendental person. And he's the origin of everything. So even if it disappears from our sight, it's still everything. And that's bewildering to our minds, because we are used to thinking in terms of duality. But the disappearance of Krishna is described in the 12th chapter, 12th canto of the Bhagavatam. how he's living together with all his Shaktis and his weapons. That is transcendental form. In his transcendental form from the earth after ending his pastimes, he went first to Brahmaloka, because he told Brahma, I will come to see you before, at the end of my pastimes, before I go back to the spiritual world. And it's described there how he lives. But Krishna can manifest himself to the conditioned soul or not. Although his body is Satchidananda, with our material eyes we cannot see anything spiritual, but he made himself visible to the conditioned souls. That so 5,000 years ago. And that, but it's very bewildering. Duryodhana was not thinking of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Duryodhana saw the Vishvarupa and said, oh, Krishna has some mystic power. That's all. He was not thinking much about him. That, so those who are non-devotees cannot understand this pastime. They think that Jara, the hunter, he killed Krishna by hurting him with an arrow in his foot, and that was it. But it's like a magician. That it is mentioned here in the purport about a magician, that they can show things which are not there. That and Krishna is all mystic powers. He can bring everyone in illusion. That but one who understands Krishna, he understands Krishna as a body made of Satchidananda and cannot leave his body. That's not possible. He is his body, Satchidananda. So they can take on any form, and it can be visible or non-visible. And it disappeared from our eyes. But in the purport it said is to bewilder the atheists, that he left the so-called body. But yes, that the purpose of all these pastimes is to get us understand that we cannot change our constitutional position. Like Krishna, he appears in this material world, but for him material energy does not exist. Material energy exists for us. For Narada Muni does not exist. It's not factual for him. Because with his spiritual body, he goes to the wall, no problem. Because the spiritual body is more subtle, and that even when we die, the super soul brings a subtle body and goes to the wall. It disappears because it's more subtle. That so the devotee understands the power of the subtle. The subtle is more powerful than the gross. That and that's very much, that's important, because we get this material body. We got this material body because of material desires. Desires are very subtle, but it's the cause that so the devotee goes back to the cause and changes the desire. And that's practically the only thing we have to do. That, but we have to change our desire, because we cannot be happy without Krishna. That's the only point really we have to understand. That therefore our human form is very valuable. Only in human form we can perform bhakti yoga and get out of here. No birth anymore in the material world. So we are meant to love Krishna, and there is no love in this world. And only by love we can understand Krishna, by bhakti. Everyone who has no bhakti will be illusioned by Krishna's magic tricks. That we will be illusioned by the material energy. And that is Krishna. I'm always thinking about Baladev Vidyabhushan, who writes verses between Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Name Bhakti Prayachati. Then it says, yes, declare it boldly, my devotee never perishes. And Arjuna says, why are you asking me? Why you are not doing it yourself? And Krishna answers, I'm from Mathura, and those from Mathura, they are known as cheaters, but they will never cheat those whom they love. So everyone who does not love Krishna is cheated by the material energy, and that's a fact. And bhakti, devotion, is a higher, devotion for Krishna is a higher spiritual energy, which gives us clear understanding. Krishna gives you the realization that for those who are not connected with this divine energy, they are bewildered. They are bewildered. They don't understand. They think Krishna has died, that he left the body. That, but Krishna is the source of all material elements, and the material elements are still there. That, yes, it's difficult to understand for the conditioned soul, but easy to understand for those whose minds are developed and developed devotion for Krishna. And we can understand that about from the example of the fish incarnation, that Krishna appears and take bigger and bigger forms, but it can also disappear when he wants. And that is what happens. That Queen Kunti said that also to Krishna, that she said, yes, you are like an actor on a stage. That you are acting like an ordinary human being, but you are not an ordinary human being. You are controlling everything. So that is the fate of a devotee. Krishna can do everything, anything. That when someone asks Guru Maharaj that can Krishna create, because Krishna lifted Govardhan, but can he make Govardhan so heavy that he cannot lift it? And Guru Maharaj said, yes, he can. Still he will lift it. So he can do anything. Because he has created the material laws and is not subjected to these laws. And that is the fate of a devotee. Krishna can do anything. That is really the meaning of omnipotent. Like, yeah, we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are individuals. Then we are going to say Krishna cannot be an individual. He's an energy. It doesn't make sense. That is reducing his omnipotency. That believe in the omnipotency of the Lord. And this is the fate of the devotee. And that is what is explained here. So any comment, question?
And when we go back to spiritual sky, then our soul also then expands as a real spiritual body.
So the question is, when we go back to the spiritual world, does our soul expand as a real spiritual body? The spiritual body is already there, Prabhupada says. On the spiritual platform, nothing is created. It's eternal. But it has now become inactive. It is because we think about expanding. We think it's too small. It should expand. but this is a material calculation that we are thinking in breadth, height, depth, the dimension of this material world. But this is not applicable in the spiritual world. And that's again inconceivable. But the spiritual soul is there. And we lost the awareness of our spiritual soul or spiritual body. But the spiritual body is there. Spiritual senses is there, Prabhupada said. But spiritual senses can only be used in service of Krishna. When we start to perform devotional service, surely the spiritual body becomes active again. But yeah. But yeah, it's difficult to think beyond the laws of material nature for us. That's very difficult to think beyond the material. Like also time-wise, that we know that there's the time experience for Brahma or for us is the same, although Brahma lives much longer. It's the same. That's interesting. Although Vishnu, it's all the creation and annihilation is like a second. So what's the time experience in the spiritual world? If we came from the spiritual world and we go back to the spiritual world, it was like we never went away in time-wise. So it's difficult to understand these things because we are so conditioned that conditioned through thinking in the framework of the material laws. We cannot think outside that box. But that does not mean that nothing exists outside that box. That so many people say yes. So Krishna, that everything comes from Krishna, and at the same time, Krishna is separate. So you are everything at the same time you are separate. Is that logic? No. This is trans-logical. We cannot understand these things. We are limited. But our Acharya says by devotion, by the energy of devotion, we get that understanding. That and that is an important point. That it's not that we can our capacity to understand things as a part and parcel of Krishna is limited. It's always limited. Also in the spiritual world. And that we see scientists try to find out. They see how the digestion works and all this enzyme and all these things. They understand maybe 1% of it, but they cannot understand what makes its work. Its work. Why it's working like that. They don't explain. They cannot explain. That's Krishna. He makes it work. That according to his direction and his laws. And again, that cannot be understood by material means, only by devotion. That Does that help? Good. Thank you very much. Shantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.